Hello and welcome to another live stream of Dragon Plus, our weekly live stream where we talk about the Dragon Plus online magazine as well as the content that will be coming out and how you can use that content in the creation and running of your game. This week we wanted to do a bit of a dive into issue 16, which will be coming out on I want to say Monday of next week. We're doing some final tweaks to the issue. We were planning on this Thursday. We're going to move it to Monday. So we're going to run through some of the content in the magazine, including look at Xanathar's Guide to Everything. With me, as always, is a guest. And this week's guest is Mike Merles.
Howdy, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, as most people know, there is huge enmity between us.
Of course. It runs deep. Ever since, I believe, you were playing a Flesh Golem in a 3rd edition game. And really, and I think I had an Ogre Mage, of course, an Ogre Mage, my favorite monster, Lightning Bolt you. And I'm going to be honest, Bart. I'm going to be very honest with you. I think it was only due to a thorough lack of play skill on your part. I rolled on 8 6-siders, 7 6s, and a 5. And I realized, well, it's probably because Bart's really bad at D&D that I just rolled that and annihilated your character.
So I just threw that out. I had a different date in mind.
Oh, this is the same. It is a deep enmity, so there's got to be multiple clashes.
Date was February 1st, 2015.
Wow, this is a little creepy that you know the date.
Shelley Mazzanoble's birthday. We had friends and family over, watching on television from the University of Phoenix Stadium as our beloved Seattle Seahawks just caught an incredible catch.
It was a
Jermaine
great catch.
Kearse would have been the highlight of the game. And there we were, 1st and goal.
It was an amazing catch, but sometimes the gods of sports decide that maybe your hubris has gotten a little too big and set you up for one of the greatest falls in Super Bowl history.
Says the fan of the New England Patriots.
Hey, and I was a fan back when they were like 1-15 under the immortal Rod Rust with quarterbacks like Tommy Hodgson, can't remember the guy's name, Hodgson, I think. So yeah, I was a fan when they were terrible, so I'm allowed to still be a fan now and not anyone fuss at me about it. Though I have to tell, okay, can I tell a story? Because I know people want to hear about what we're here to talk about, but I have to tell a brief story.
Of course.
At least you might appreciate it.
I've got minutes of witty banter.
Oh, so. Excellent.
Yes.
So you have to understand, people in the Northwest are nuts for the Seahawks. They love the Seahawks. I'm from New England. I'm like a Bostonian, at least by proximity. And people in Boston have nothing on Seattle when it comes to like the love specifically for the Seahawks. People in Boston love all their teams. Yeah. But so the net love of sports in Boston, I'm going to say, is probably higher. But the one-on-one love for the Seahawks is much higher than any like one team, even the Red Sox, right? It's crazy.
Well, we have to invest in the Seahawks. The Mariners don't do much. We lost the basketball team. We don't have a hockey team.
Yeah, you need a hockey team.
I would love
your Seattle Thunderbirds, WHL champions last year.
Yes.
So well done, T-Birds. I like hockey myself. So so anyway, I'm watching the game on February 1st, 2015, at my in-laws' house with my wife and our daughter. And my mother-in-law has never followed football in her life, and she's in her 70s now. Except the year the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, the year prior, she suddenly became a big fan. She actually took a course at a local college to learn the basics of the game and the strategy and all this other stuff.
I love it.
So she gets really into it.
Yeah.
Now, the challenge with that is my mother-in-law, what will happen is we're watching the game, they have, as most people have, a DVR. They watch a play, then she always wants to rewind to rewatch it because she always thinks she missed something.
Well, they do replays as
right,
part of the
but
broadcast.
you'd think, and a lot of times it might just be like, run for 3 yards off left tackle. No, I think I missed something. Let's go back.
Yeah.
So we're watching the game, but we're way behind.
She wants the 11-on-11 film.
Yeah, right? She's really into it. So we're really far behind, and I'm like, I don't like doing that. I like watching the game live. For me, watching it taped, even if I don't know what's going to happen, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
Even watching wrestling, like if I don't watch a show live, like I don't know what something like TLC this past weekend, right? Like I missed it because I was busy. But I did hear there's like one match. Everyone's like, there's one match I'm going to check out. So like I went back and watched that one. And it was great, but it just didn't have the same feel watching it live, right?
That's the beauty of sports.
And I've been cursed every pay-per-view like I've been busy, like I've been away or something like that. So anyway. So we're watching the game, and they have a commercial that says, hey, if you want to watch the game, our app is offering it for free. It's like NBC or whoever had it. So I'm like, forget it. I tell them, like, look, I'm just going to watch it on the app. You guys are watching it and going back and forth. I just wanted to watch the game live. And they were fine with it, right? They're being, no, sure, but that's what you want to do. So I have my headphones on and I'm watching. Now, keep in mind, I'd gotten a lot of grief about being a Patriots fan, but I assured them, like, look, hey, I live in Seattle now. I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm going to pull for the Seahawks. And I actually genuinely believe that when I said it.
Ah, all right.
But, like, when the Patriots got that late lead, I could kind of feel like in my heart of hearts, I'm like, I think I'm actually a Patriots fan. I think I'm actually excited. And then when he caught that pass and it's bouncing around, and he bounces off his butt and he still catches it, I'm like, oh, David Tyree, 2007 all over again, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So then now, also just to frame this, their next door neighbor, when the Seahawks score a touchdown, they set off fireworks. So what happens next?
Every game or just in the Super Bowl?
Every game.
Okay.
So Seahawks touchdown, fireworks. So Seahawks have the ball, 2nd and goal. They call the slant pass. My in-laws and my wife and my daughter's only like, at this time she's like 1, so she doesn't understand what's going on. They're actually they've caught up, right? They're maybe like 10 minutes behind us. Mm-hmm. So when Butler, God bless him, picks off that pass, I go, yes! Right? I can't help it. I'm just so excited. It turns out, yes, I'm a Patriots fan of the Seahawks. I have to admit to myself. I'm so excited about this. And then, so they turn to look at me and think, we're going to win, because Mike just cheered. And then the neighbor, which I can only assume now is in a fit of pique, set off all their fireworks. They must have been so upset. They had all these fireworks, and like, we lost, boom, this. So they, from their standpoint...
It's good they didn't launch them like at your house.
Yeah, right.
In a fit of pique.
So they think that the Seahawks have won. So they're watching that final drive. And then Lynch on 1st down goes off, like, the left tackle and almost punches it in. And so they're all ready to cheer, and then the ball... Butler, just, Bulldogs, whoever it was it Curse who was throwing to throw it to? I can't remember now.
I don't even remember,
and picks off that pass.
I think it was, no, Curse was blocking.
Okay.
And he didn't drive through on the block.
And when he picked off that pass, everyone in my family turned and looked at me, and I knew then they wanted to kill me. Like, this is what it means to be an in-law. Like, you're the first one off the boat, right, when it's time to start throwing weight overboard. Yeah, so I had a cop like, okay, I am actually a Patriots fan. Which made the Patriots beating, okay, now one addendum, when the Patriots won the Super Bowl this last year, my mother-in-law stopped watching the game at halftime.
Yeah.
So when the game ended, I went upstairs. I have a plush Tom Brady doll because I love the Patriots. I had to bring and say, and I was acting out, so Marilyn, I'm sure you know with the way the score was when you left at halftime. The Patriots came back and won, right? And she didn't actually believe me. She had to look up the score to confirm, and yes. So
I would have not being a New England fan, I would have appreciated this comeback even more if only Seattle had beaten them, and then everyone would be happy. But no, the football gods decided.
Football gods? They seem to like Bill Belichick and Tom Brady.
Oh, yes, they do.
So, and I gotta admit, having staggered through so many 1-15 seasons, years of the Patriots games would not be on TV because they're blacked out. Because who wants to go to, at the time, Sullivan Stadium? I think it's got back in Foxborough. It was just a giant poured concrete bowl with a football field stuck in the middle. Awful place to see a game.
See, I started watching football with the '85 Bears.
See,
that was my team against the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Total shellacking, which we were expecting. I remember when Franklin hit that field goal. Oh, people forget. The Patriots at one point had a lead. Franklin hit a field goal.
They had the first points of the game.
And even I, as a little kid, I would have been 10 years old at the time. Thought, no, this is just. Of course, we're gonna get destroyed, right? This is just an excuse for the family to get together and cook hot dogs and hang out and watch a football game. But of course, we're gonna lose, right? There's
and
no
watch
chance.
William the Refrigerator Perry run in a touchdown.
But not Walter Payton.
That's
why the Bears have been cursed.
That was a tragedy.
It's the curse of Walter Payton. That's my theory.
Hopefully they've broken it with Trubinsky. So folks tuning in, this is, we will get, to the Dungeons and Dragons. The reason I brought this up, again, was I'm willing to forgive all enmity between us if you can answer the following question correctly.
Oh, okay. Oh, but do I want to end the enmity? It's nice to have enemies, keep sowing edge. But let's see what the question is.
We're coming up on Halloween season.
Okay.
Candy corn. Yay or nay?
Yay. Well, I don't understand why candy corn. The hatred of candy corn is such an internet thing, right? Like no one knew. No one knew when people hated candy corn until they went on the internet. Then everyone's like, "Oh, by the way, you should hate candy corn." Then everyone's like, "Oh, I guess I hate candy corn now." Candy corn, like I never met anyone in my life who didn't like candy corn until I met internet people.
Well, the enmity is still
you don't like candy corn? How can you not like candy corn?
Nobody likes candy.
It's literally just sugar. It's just sugar compressed into like something that doesn't even look like corn. It looks more like a traffic cone. And then that's it.
No, it's awful. It's awful stuff.
I don't believe you. I think you're just fronting.
No,
you're straight up fronting.
Nobody likes it. But we also Halloween's coming out. We've got Stranger Things 2 will be coming out quite shortly now on Netflix. So I have no idea. I don't know if anyone here knows too much about.
We know nothing.
Yeah, so we'll see what goes on.
Like fans watching it.
Stranger Things 2, but that's coming out as well. We were mentioning off the air, the New Yorker had a nice article up on D&D as well today.
That's trippy.
Touching on a few things. Spelled, again, I was kind of amused, it's spelled D period ampersand D period.
Yeah, I guess that's like I like to think that's like the fancy version of Dungeons and
Right,
Dragons.
right.
That's like if you read the New Yorker, that's the version you'd play is D period space ampersand space D period space.
In any
That's
case,
just it. It's all good though.
we got a
play
quote
D&D.
from you in there. Did you know that was coming? Did they interview
No,
you,
because the
or-
quote wasn't actually taken from me. It was taken from an interview I did, which I actually like because it kind of made me. I actually kind of chuckled because it kind of made me look like I was scared. Like people are here and I don't know why, right? And it was just like that would probably be like sure, right? Like 1,000 people showed up at my house. That's how I'd react. So I just thought it was a little funny. Like, which is cool, but I'm sorry, I'm making the article was fantastic.
Yeah.
Actually, it was very well written, very interesting and insightful, and I really, but I just never thought I'd be quoted in the New Yorker,
Yeah, way, yeah.
unless it was like they were running like articles on like local boob gets head stuck in window frame. Like okay, I could make that one, right? But
I'll wait for that article.
I'm working on it. I gotta rake and clean my outside of my house this weekend, so we'll see what I can do.
This is me parrying this into some things coming up. They also mentioned the Brooklyn Strategist quite a bit as
Yeah.
well. We just announced the next Foursquare live game will be taking place in Brooklyn, New York on November 18th on Saturday, so we hope that you are able to tune in for that as well. It's the exciting conclusion to this season of Foursquare. We are still putting out the episodes every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific. So we'll probably wrap up actually that Monday or right before the game on Saturday. So it'll be a nice little connection through. In addition, I also mentioned came back from Madison, Wisconsin this weekend for homecoming weekend,
Yeah.
which was great.
Oh, that's right. You went to the University of Wisconsin.
I did myself.
Undefeated
and the
University of Wisconsin.
Yes, yes.
There you go. Go Badgers.
They're doing well. They beat Maryland, so apologies to any Maryland fans watching.
There are no Maryland fans. No, I don't know. I'm sorry. Maybe there's a ton of Maryland fans. I wouldn't know.
But I did have a chance to meet with Alex Kammer, who runs Gamehole Con, which is running November 2nd through 5th in Madison, of course, the largest tabletop gaming convention in the upper Midwest. They have a lot of things going on, including a kids track this year. True Dungeon will be there this year, and also 2 of our Extra Life charity games will be taking place this year as well. And Mike, you will be running one of the charity games.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun running. So I had to follow up after the Tower of the Curator at Steam Annihilation.
Yes.
They said, hey, why don't you write that Merle's guy might know a little bit about D&D. Let's throw him on camera and see what happens. Let the magic happen.
So just the logistics of that. Your game will be Friday, November 3rd.
Yep, Friday evening, East Coast time.
Yes, 5 to 9 p.m. Pacific time. Your players will be Chris Lindsay from here at Wizards of the Coast, as well as Jeremy Crawford, Wizards of the Coast, Rudy Rutenberg and Satine Phoenix from Maze Arcana, Pat Kilbane, and Dave Ewalt. So quite a table.
Oh, it's gonna be fun, and I know all those people, so I guess like I could maybe start some enmity if I roll a max damage lightning bolt to kill a bunch of people.
So your game, unless I'm mistaken horribly, is the Machineries of Death.
Yes.
And what's in store? Folks are tuning in for the game.
So I'm gonna like cop to something here. Like I think a lot of times on streams, it's hard to make combat really fun because it's a lot of dice rolling. And so what I want to try to do is create something that was a little bit more focused on like traps and situations.
Okay.
I have a dungeon I've run a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Like when when the Curse guys were here, it's like, oh hey, we want to play D&D. It's like, oh, I have a dungeon I can run, and it's got a lot of traps in it, and it's got like fights that are more like kind of puzzles rather than like fighting. Like if that makes sense.
Sure.
You can tune in and you'll find out, right? It's going to be a little bit of a gauntlet in the sense of there's a lot of so the players are here because the followers of Baal have locked away a very powerful magical item. Being followers of the Lord of Murder, this item that's a powerful force for good and hope, and kind of fits in with the entire raising money for cancer research kind of thing.
Yes.
So they've locked it away, and there's traps, and there's some monsters, but it's more of a puzzle and interaction kind of thing. So it's going to be fun to watch how the players tackle things. And I'm hoping it's something that, like, if you're watching, it's maybe a little more entertaining, because it's not just us, like, rolling dice and then, like, figuring out initiative and stuff. I mean, that stuff's fun. That stuff's great. But I wanted to run something that's a little more dynamic.
Okay.
So and so I'm kind of drawing some of those traps that I've designed. I think we have a new book coming out in November.
Yes.
that has new expanded trap rules.
And I did want to throw that out now for folks watching in the chat. And as always, thank you, everyone who is taking your time to watch the live stream, especially the folks in the chat that are able to interact with us. live. And one of the things we wanted to take advantage of with Mike sitting here today, we've got Xanathar's Guide to Everything coming out in a matter of weeks as part of our Extra Life. Yes.
It's like the little guy and his like big sibling there.
Yes, the alt cover, which we did with Volo's Guide.
Yep.
Is that correct? And so we released the table of contents on Friday as part of our Extra Life reward structure. So you've seen, if you've had a chance to take a look at it, you've seen at least the listing of the contents of the book. Lots going on as well with D&D Beyond has been putting out the video interviews with the subclasses and talking through it. But for folks in chat, if you do have a question about Xanathar's Guide that you wanted to throw out there, here's your opportunity. Please just preface it in chat with question. All caps catches our eye, and we'll try and hold Mike's feet to the fire.
I didn't know there'd be fire involved, sir.
Fire and enmity.
Yeah, the enmity. Always back the enmity.
That was my clever way of getting to candy corn for Halloween.
Was enmity?
Yeah, I don't know. So yes, any questions on Xanathar's Guide, please throw out in chat. And but until then, the Machineries of Death. Are you pulling in anything from Xanathar's Guide?
So actually, that's a really great question because the trap rules that I've used in that adventure started my Stormgate campaign, and I was just like. It's like embarrassing, but it's also good because it is something people can use. I was like designing this trap-filled dungeon for my game, and I just didn't like the rules for traps, which is embarrassing because I wrote the rules for traps. So it's like, past Mike, you screwed up. Do something better. So I made some rules and for more dynamic traps, and so you will see a number of traps that are built using those rules. If you followed Unearthed Arcana. This was something we reviewed, we play tested, and people really liked. And it was interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine over email about how it is so obvious. Like we can see how much happier people are with stuff that really organically grows out of our campaigns. And so that felt good to see that feedback. But so yeah, this is something people are seeing as a need. So the traps you're going to see if you tune in to Machineries of Death will be traps, not the same traps in the book because I think almost everyone at the table has played in a game I have run using that sort of dungeon I mentioned that I've run a few times. So I need to come up with new traps. And so, but hopefully they're dynamic and interesting and fun. And kind of my goal with the trap is to like get the players to argue over what to do next. Like you always want the argument between. I have a feeling like Rudy's a player is someone I can really bait into this. Like, oh, here's a cool thing, but like, oh, it's so dangerous. But like, you still have to get like, oh, which path do you want to try to take the super high risk approach to the trap and get the treasure, or like the relatively safer but still like it's still dangerous but not like as dangerous path? And I think I can get Rudy baited in. Because when I ran a game from last year at GaryCon, he was definitely into like having fun. Like, let's do the cool thing. Let's do like let's take a risk. Right? Yeah. Because it's a convention game, so why not? It's only 4 hours.
So we were talking to Chris Perkins, and one of the philosophies going into the design of Tomb of Annihilation was it's based a bit on Tomb of Horrors, and you might know the Tomb of Horrors.
Yeah.
A Sararak might know that you know the Tomb of Horrors and would set up the trap sort of appropriate to, well, you're going to try this way because you've done it in the past, and it's not going to work out that way. Are you going to potentially do something similar with that?
I don't know if I'm that clever. We'll see, though. Chris is definitely ahead of me when it comes to the adventure creation game. So
it's the Princess Bride. Clearly, it's not the glass in front of you.
No, that's the thing. I knew, when a friend of mine who would do like rock, paper, scissors. I'm going to throw a rock, and then you'd go to shoot. Like, it's the best mind game. Like, wait, are you? And then like, there's no way you feel smart because no matter what you do, it's like.
Oh, he'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw a rock.
Yeah, and then it's like, is he actually going to?
That's
mind
diabolical.
games, right?
Yeah. So we got a couple questions coming in. For one of our viewers has mentioned they have not had a chance yet to see the table of contents, but wanted to know if the revised Ranger made the cut, and I'll throw out, if not, potentially why not.
Yeah, so we didn't want to put in the book because as we thought about it, we were putting together the final table of contents. We knew there'd be people out there playing Rangers who would want to swap over to the revised version. And we didn't want people to feel like the message being, like, let's say you go to your game store or convention or your game day or whatever, you're playing D&D, and you say, hey, there's a new Ranger, it's revised, you should upgrade your Ranger. Okay, great. What do I do? Oh, you need to go buy this book. Now, we wanted people to go, oh, go download it from here. It's free. Even if it was in the book and also available for free, it just felt like it's just a bad experience to feel like, oh, I need to go buy a book to play the character that I kind of maybe should be playing, especially because we know that, especially for the Beastmaster Ranger, people really liked the new version much better. So we expect a lot of people playing Beastmasters will want to go with the revised version. So we didn't want that first sort of talking to someone else response to be go spend money. So that's really what that came down to. So what it does mean is we're looking to apply playtest feedback. That just kind of got backburnered because we're working on this book, and then we have a couple other things come up, but can't talk about those yet. So soon, I almost slipped. Actually, there was one point where I almost just chimed in like, "Oh, because we're doing it." Like, no, wait, I can't.
Don't worry, we'll edit this out. Oh, wait,
yeah.
Wait a minute. Shoot.
The plan is to release it on the DMs Guild.
Okay.
And make it free. And then we'll talk about getting it integrated into D&D Beyond, what that would look like, things like that.
Okay.
But the idea is to make it as seamless as possible for everyone. Like I said, we just didn't want people to feel like the message from just the person in your gaming group or your dungeon master to be, oh, you need to go buy the new book. I mean, that's okay. I like selling books, but I don't like selling books when people are like, oh, I don't really like. That's kind of that's lousy. I paid money for the player's handbook. Like that should work. So it's like, yeah. And it is also a case where it's not like the classes just doesn't function. It's just we know people weren't happy with where it was. Okay. So we just kind of feel like we owe it to the community. Why make the first step feel like I need to spend money? So.
Question coming in. This is not the book that has new monsters per se. Folks digging into what content is in the book. So let me pivot the question a bit in that direction. Is if you're picking up this book, what can you expect to find in it?
So the way I like to think of this book philosophically is we've had 3 years now, wow, 3 years, of 5th edition since its release. And where we are now as designers has progressed significantly, and where the community is as players and dungeon masters has also progressed significantly. So now we all have a lot more experience with the game under our belts, our collective belts. And so the way I see this book is, now keep in mind we started designing this really about a year ago, so it's actually 2 years in. It's about taking what we've learned and applying it to a new wave of class options for players, some other new pieces for players, and then giving more support to dungeon masters based on gaps we've seen emerge. If you've played prior editions of D&D, this is kind of like taking the best parts of Player's Handbook 2 and Dungeon Master's Guide 2 and combining them into one book. So it's really about, like I mentioned, traps, finding those areas in the game where after few campaigns having been run, and you say, oh, I wish the traps rules were better. I mean, it's exactly what I went through. I wish trap rules were a little more robust, traps a little more complicated, a little more Rube Goldberg style traps. Well, okay, let's add that. Let's see if people want it. And so it really is, and it not only just extend the options you have as a player or dungeon master, but then to kind of go back and fill in those points where we, in building 5th edition without 3 years or 2 years of experience playing it, there are things we missed. So it can range just, I think that we were, there's rules for like, well, if I want to sleep in armor, how does that work? Okay, we don't answer that question, so we'll answer it here, right? And then there's other bigger things like tool proficiencies. That's something which dungeon masters like, it's a little vague, I don't really know how to use it, or I'm not really clear, or why would players want to use these? So there's a section that gives you optional rules for further fleshing those out and rewarding players who take them, things like that. So it really is a balance between player content and DM content.
Great. All right. So it's player content, DM content, further player options, refined rules for running the game beyond what we already have in the core rule books, and just adding to your game as well.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to that again. If you have further questions based on Xanathar's guide, if you're curious about it, if you're curious about any of the specific content from the table of contents, please put it in chat in questions. Where does this book fit in with the overall life cycle of 5e?
It's still early. I mean, one thing we thought of and what very consciously we wanted to do was to avoid throwing out so many options up front that people really felt like, oh, the game's getting bloated, there's too many things, or even things like, oh, these new options really have become the standard. Kind of goes back to the earlier thing with the Ranger, but if you twist it a bit, a new player comes to the table, they have a player's handbook, they go to make a character, and someone says, oh, well, really the book you should own is Complete Fighter's Handbook, Complete Warrior, or whatever it was, because that's where your class stuff really is. We want to avoid that, and I think up front we wanted to avoid that by having the robust open playtest for 5th. And I think we did a good job with that. Not perfect, but I think we hit the mark. But then realizing for a lot of players, the way I kind of think of it is, let's say you really like playing archers. It's been 3 years since the game came out. You maybe have played 3, 4, 5 campaigns of various lengths. Maybe you got one all the way to 20, and a couple have started and stopped at some point. And if you like playing archers, maybe you played 3 or 4 different archers, and now you're kind of ready for like, now I'm ready for like my next archer. So you might look at the book and go, oh, Arcane Archer, I want to play that character. I like playing ranged characters. Now here's a new type of that character for me to play. Or you just like novelty, you like playing a wide variety of characters. So at this stage, you maybe work through the ones that interest you, and now it's kind of time for you to check out some new options. You know, it's an interesting question, you know, because we are in a space we weren't expecting. You know, usually you launch an edition, you sell a bunch of books. If this was, actually this kind of blew my mind when I first thought about it. If you compare where we are right now to prior editions, the ones published by Wizards, if this was 3rd edition at the 38-month mark, we would already have seen the release of 3.5. If this is 3.5 at the 38-month mark, we were already working on 4th edition in earnest. I think we would have been a year into the design. And if this 4th edition at the 3+ year mark, like I think Essentials has already come out. And if you're familiar with prior editions, those are all pretty much landmark big changes to how the game played. And I see Xanathar's Guide to Everything being philosophically similar in the sense that it's saying, let's take what we've learned about the game and allow you to play it. But 5th, the context is very different. We don't need to do a new edition to do that. What we found is since we've avoided releasing content too quickly, which seems to really resonate with people, that seems to be helping. You know, people seem to really like that. And our market research before the release had shown that. People didn't want us to release too much stuff. So it's a similar transformative element of like, oh, the game feels fresh again, but being able to do that without doing a new edition. And I think if we can, I mean, from my standpoint, if we could do that indefinitely, if every like 3 or 4 years we did a similar book and that just kind of refreshed the game for veteran players, but avoided making it feel cluttered for new players, then that would be ideal. There's just practicalities of there's probably a limit on how many of this style books we can do that are meant to apply to all D&D campaigns. You know, it's kind of interesting to think, well, what could you do if you thought of new settings or classic settings brought back, and they kind of handle some of that load? But that's all very speculative. We're going to see how this book does in probably like in about a year, 9 months or a year, see how the community's acting and see how it's changing the game, and then start thinking about, okay, what's the next step? You know, if we're going to do another book like this, what would it look like? What would it include?
You mentioned tools. I saw a question had come in regarding the herbalism kits and things like that. Does Xanathar's help elaborate on what you can do with tools?
Yeah, and actually, if you don't mind, I'll flip the book open.
I don't think we'll mind.
So. You know, and it's always funny because the, you know, I live in the future, right? I was just working on a project that's not coming out for another 9 months. And 9 months to me is like, that's tomorrow. I need to get this done quickly. So to give you an example, if you saw some of the play, now I'm being a little embarrassed because we're live. I forget if we released this material on Earth Arcana. I think we did. But so the idea is for each tool, we tell you a little bit about what it actually contains. So here's, if you have this tool, like what is it? So the herbalism kit includes pouches to store herbs, clippers and leather gloves for collecting plants, a mortar and pestle, and several glass jars. That information was there in the player's notebook for some of the toolkits, but not all of them. And then we walk you through a number of different skills where, hey, if you're proficient in the skill and the kit, they can either be complementary to each other, or in certain situations, this kit proficiency could replace the skill proficiency. So for instance here, we list investigation, and the text reads, when you inspect an area overgrown with plants, your proficiency can help you pick out details and clues that others might miss. So you might not be proficient with investigation, but you're like, oh, there was a murder in this garden. Well, because I know herbalism, I have the kit proficiency, I can get a read on, well, this plant's bruised this way or bent that way. I can use it as if I was proficient with investigation.
So it's a bit of, if you're proficient in investigation, you're a bit Sherlock Holmes. If you're proficient with the kit, you might be a bit CSI.
Yeah.
And either way, you're able to generate some intelligence about what you're finding.
And then we have some recommendations, like what if you're proficient in both? What would that mean? You know. Now, the important thing to remember about this is intended as an optional rule for dungeon masters who have a player, maybe you have a player who really, I'm proficient with the herbalism kit, that's a big part of my character's identity. You know, I'm playing a wizard who's also a gardener and is really interested in plants and plant magic. This might be something you might do because it adds some more depth to that tool. We go into that level of detail for every single tool, and the intent isn't that you treat this as like canonical rules, because that would be a lot of rules for all these tools to track. It's really meant for if, hey, you just like that level of rules detail, then go ahead, use it. That's great. Or if you just feel like you have a player who has a tool proficiency and kind of wants to get more out of it, then you can kind of, okay, I'm just going to take this one tool and kind of, you know, I could imagine photocopying this page, cutting out the one proficiency the player has, and just letting them, hey, just keep that in your character sheet to remind you of the stuff you can do. and letting the player more manage that. We also give you some sample DCs. So for instance, going back to the herbalism kit, it gives you some sample DCs for if you want to identify plants, identify a poison, using your herbalism kit, things like that. If you're looking for a specific plant, it just gives you like a sample DC for, what would the DC check? Because the idea being, herbalism kit, it isn't just knowing how to use the tools in the kit, but it's also having an understanding of plants and herbalism as a field. So that's kind of philosophically what we do with the tools, is sort of expand out. Rather than say an astronomer isn't just proficient with a telescope, they also know, and here's all the other things you know.
Right, they know how to use it, but they also know what they're looking at.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, that's an optional, again, they're all meant to be optional. They're just, that's the kind of detail you can bring into your game if as a DM you want to add a lot more meat to tools.
A question had come up. It's not just using skills, but it's also about building your character. There's a lot of character detail and backstory information in there. Can you talk a little bit about the This Is Your Life section?
Oh yeah, so the This Is Your Life section, it's inspired by the classic role-playing game Traveler, which, and there's also Cyberpunk, I think it was 2020 in its first edition, had this idea that rather than going through and making choices like, I'm going to be, here's I'm going to pick my race, I'm going to pick my class, or whatever to be for the genre. You actually sort of role play your character through each year of your training, and as you're serving, say, in the military, or like in a science fiction game, like you're a trader out in deep space, and it reflects each year, like what skills and things do you pick up. So what that section here in Xanathar does is it builds out your character's backstory, essentially phase by phase. Like, here's what happened with you when you were young, when you're an adolescent, in your young adulthood, and now you're an adventurer. And it takes the place of a background, and instead of just giving you, just pick your background skills, it gives you skills and proficiencies based on the events of your life, so your character's a little bit more organic than just an off-the-shelf character. Okay,
and are these options that you as a player can pick, that your Dungeon Master would assign, or is it up to the campaign to sort of determine how you want to make use of that material?
Oh, it's up to the DM to just say, look, as a Dungeon Master, you might decide to let the players use that system rather than just creating backgrounds, just picking the background.
Okay.
It's essentially a series of tables you roll on just to kind of get a sense of who your character is. And I think it's a fun thing to do if you're for the type of player who like maybe has a little trouble thinking of a good backstory, or you just want to roll some dice and see what happened. So it gives you some elements of your who your character is, and actually no, it does assign your background. Okay, I was mistaken about that. It doesn't assign the skills. I think this is the problem of going live, because I remember we talked about doing that, but that wasn't working out very well. What it does is it gives you a path to how you got to your background, how you got to your class, and then it lays out a number of. No, I remember we decided to not, if I remember right, I think we decided not to do that because it would be kind of funny if everyone wanted perception. Like, really what you want to do is get kidnapped by bandits because that gives you perception. Like, okay, we don't want to like...
So there's a lot of characters in the world that have been kidnapped by bandits.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. So no, let's just keep the backgrounds. We ended up pointing it to that.
So we'll get back to Xanathar's guide to everything in a moment. Again, I just wanted to reiterate a few things. And again, here's one of the other things of going live, the logistics of your time. It's 2:30. Are you still okay?
We are already 2:30. I can do like another 5 minutes, I think.
Okay.
I need to get back downstairs and get back to work.
All right. So before we say adieu to Mike, we did want to mention his game at GameholeCon, November 3rd, 5 to 9 p.m. Pacific, The Machineries of Death. As part of your Extra Life rewards, you had also offered, I will design new options for an existing class.
Yeah.
Those were snatched up. There were 4 of those. Those were all taken.
I've already started work on one of them.
And which leads me to a discussion that we had about a potential live stream show that you would be
That's right.
running.
Yeah, my show.
Yes. So we had 2 options for names, and Emi Tanji again created great graphics for both.
They're fantastic.
Yes.
You also learn something about yourself when someone says, "What graphic do you want to represent you?" And you're like, "Well, it's this one. It's obvious, right?" Like, you might want it to be one, but it's whatever. We'll see.
So if Pelham, we've got this is the actual name of the show, and we'll just throw this out there. Again, we were just kind of coming up with a goofy name.
Right, because
Fun Hour.
I saw this one and I thought, okay, this guy's smiling and somewhat spherical. That's me. So I can't argue with with that being the logo for my show.
Now the alternate, which we were just playing around with, we wanted something super 70s.
Which is it's a little too iron and maybe like
And yeah, and also did not pass trademark.
It turns out there is a show called The Hour of Power.
There is an Hour of Power.
It's a religious show, which would
yeah.
be sort of, no, that's probably about as far from my
so we'll go with Happy Fun
expertise
Hour.
as you could get. Maybe Crawford could do that. He has an advanced degree in theology or whatever.
And James Wyatt as well.
And James Wyatt, yeah. They're everywhere in this building.
So for folks that would be interested in Mike Merles' upcoming live stream show, we talked about starting that up after Gamehole Con, so that we've got a chance to potentially look at the creation of some of these class rewards.
We're going to make stuff live. Now, this is the thing. You're going to get an edited version of the creative process.
So folks tune in, what are they going to see?
This is, okay, so I'm going to, so what they're going to see is I'm going to create something, and we'll talk to chat. Now, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to tackle first. I might tackle one of those subclasses, but I also know the folks who donated for them have very specific, like, here's what they want.
Right.
I have a couple of other ideas, but I thought if actually I wanted to give you the real deal creative process, it would just be me opening a Word doc, doing Google searches, watching YouTube vids, opening Hearthstone, feeling guilty closing Hearthstone, and maybe doing a little work, and then coming up, oh wait, I need to go to a meeting now. So. But that's not what we'll do. It'll be a full straight hour of happy fun time.
That doesn't make good live stream.
That doesn't make a good live stream.
It
doesn't make it good for getting work done either. So,
so we're looking at doing this actually before this live stream to kind of continue the programming. Tuesdays, 12:30 to 1:30 Pacific. So look for that to be added to our schedule for one of the weeks right after for Gamehole Con. We'll do those for a few weeks leading into the holidays and come back into the new year, see how that goes.
Yeah.
But if you are interested in watching Mike Merles in the throes of creative passion.
It's more like you just be like, what I think we're going to try to do it where I can see chat and you'll have my face and then you'll get a view of the window.
Yes.
So you can watch me type. So it'll actually probably be a lot of me typing, going to then delete, and then right as I correct stuff. But
we'll get the logistics worked out. We'll have it the wrong way at first, so your face is the big screen, and then the tiny picture-in-picture is what you're actually working on. Well, in any case, we'll let you go, but we appreciate your time today to answer a few questions on Xanathar's guide. Again, you'll be at Gamehole Con running the game on November 3rd.
Running games, yeah, it's exciting.
And the Happy Fun Hour coming up on...
Yeah, my show. I have a show. This is so trippy. I got quoted in the New Yorker. Do you think the two... I think the two are linked. You get quoted in the New Yorker around here, and people are like, this guy...
We got to give this guy a
gotta take him seriously now.
So for folks watching, we're going to take a quick break just to get Mike's mic off, and we're going to come back and do a quick run-through of Dragon Plus Issue 16 content and do some previews of that. While you're waiting, we don't want you just waiting around for no reason whatsoever. Last week we showcased the Tales from Candlekeep game from BCom Studios, and we raffled away a couple of codes for that. We also talked about the WizKids physical version, Tomb of Annihilation, the adventure system game. So we have a copy of the Tomb of Annihilation adventure system game. I'll look at Pelham if he's ready to run a raffle. So we're going to raffle away one copy of the Tomb of Annihilation board game while we're doing just a quick studio switch around. So if you're interested, just be sure to enter !raffle in the chat field as soon as Pelham is good. All right. So raffle in the chat, and we'll give away a copy of Tomb of Annihilation. So Mike, thank you for your time as always.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we'll do... right, we are back. Our first segment was with Mike Merles, talking a little bit of Xanathar's Guide to Everything, talking a little bit about everything. He's going to be participating in Gamehole Con as part of the Extra Life games that we've been running. He is starting up his own live stream. While you guys were patiently waiting, we did open up the raffle for a copy of the Tomb of Annihilation Adventure System board game. Is that raffle now closed? I'm looking at Pelham behind the screen. The raffle is now closed. Did we draw a winner? Should we draw a name?
Furious Fur.
Furious Fur. Congratulations to Furious Fur. We'll whisper to you on the chat here to just get an address to send that off to. So again, thanks for everyone for participating in the Adventure System games. So we've got a little bit of time here before the top of the hour. Normally we're talking through with our guests about what's going on. This time I wanted to showcase a little bit of, because this is the Dragon Plus live stream, showcase a little bit of the content that you'll be able to see in the next issue of Dragon Plus. Issue 15 is on stands now, available on iOS and Android and at dragonmag.com. Issue 16 will be available, if not Monday, then Tuesday, Halloween of next week. So we wanted to showcase some of the content, and if we've got a picture of the cover preview itself, we can put that up as well. The cover artist for issue 16, Leah Palmer-Prius, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Apologies if not. Austin, Texas-born artist, moved around a lot with her family as a child and now resides in Raleigh, North Carolina. Who describes herself as a maximalist miniaturist. Created the cover piece. This is a bit of a cropped piece. We didn't want to showcase the whole thing. But the art order that we sent out to Leia was, we asked for a portrait of a dense jungle of Chult. At the heart of the jungle sits Kupalue from Adam Lee's ongoing fiction piece, which will continue in issue 16, a veggie pygmy. So imagine a miniature swamp thing in a way, from whose body sprouts the jungle's roots and vines that extend and swirl around everywhere. The vines contain words from the issue's fiction piece and potentially icons of the jungle's 9 trickster gods. Hidden within jungle foliage are, in various combinations, creatures native to Chult, the Chewinga, the small elemental fairies, the Grung, the tree frog people, the Almirage, the unicorn bunnies, flying monkeys, Sioux monsters, evil possum hanging monkeys. These are descriptions of what these monsters actually wore. And the Zorbo, which are evil koalas. Even a peek at a zombie dinosaur, also working his way through the jungle as Kupalue's partner, the human guide Kawasha. The overall sense is one of dense, powerful, and dangerous nature. The jungle as a kind of living entity. So that was the art description that we gave to Leah Palmer-Prius, the artist for issue 16's cover. So that'll be, you'll see the full cover when that comes out. We wanted to give you a preview now, and of course, as always, an interview with the artist herself is coming up. Each issue of Dragon Plus, we try and reach into the DM's Guild to pull out content from there. For this issue, for issue 16, we wanted to preview some of the Guild Adept content. Chris Lindsay had been putting out various announcements along the way of the Guild Adept program, about the designers that had contributed the first round of Guild Adept content. If you weren't already familiar with some of this content, we wanted to offer some of the excerpts of four pieces of that content in issue 16 as well. So we do have, we'll showcase the cover art and a look at the excerpt itself. We've got the Ruins of Matalo. This is the Ruins of Mesro. This one is from Will Doyle, Rudy Rutenberg, and James Intracaso. It's an adventure site for levels 1 to 16. It contains quite a bit of material, a gazetteer of locations in the ruined city, 3 adventures set in the ruins for levels 1 to 4, 5 to 10, and 11 to 16. New character options, including the heretic background and the entropy domain. And new monsters, including the Goliath Warrior, the Mudmaw, the Living Trap, and the Priest of Entropy. So that's the Ruins of Mesro. We also have, and I'll just wait for Pelham to put up the next one. Feel free to put up in any order. So this is Heart of the Wild. And author of this is Rich, and I'm going to mutilate his name, but I believe it's Lusco Flair, an adventure for levels 5 to 10. Group of adventurers tasked to uncover the truth behind a mystery that lies deep within a forgotten sanctum. One protected by those who still practice the old teachings of Chultan magic. So if you are looking for additional adventure content in your Tomb of Annihilation campaign, the next few that we'll talk about are additional adventures that you might use, again, depending on the level of your group. So Heart of the Wild, good for adventures levels 5 through 10. We also have from Sean Merwin, The Return of the Lizard King. This one an adventure for levels 1 to 4, so if you've got a lower level group that's still interested in exploring a bit more of the Chultian Peninsula. In Chult's Valley of Dread, warring tribes of lizard folk have kept each other in check for centuries. As the tribes slowly fall under the sway of a new leader, omens point to the return of an ancient threat, the demon-spawned Lizard King. Adventurers from a faraway realm find themselves in the middle of the fray. Their heroics could save the land from terrible evil, or it might play a part in bringing about doom. So again, that is Return of the Lizard King from Sean Merwin, adventure for levels 1 to 4. And last but not least, we have The Ruins of Metallo by Cindy Moore, an adventure for levels 5 to 10. The dead are walking the jungles of Chult. Adventurers are needed to fend off the savages. In the process, something long forgotten is rediscovered. Will their pleas for help be heard from the creator of Chult? So again, in issue 16 of Dragon Plus, coming out next week, in our DM's Guild section, we'll be offering previews and excerpts from those 4 pieces of Guild Adept content. In addition, we also like to take a look back at old content from Dragon Magazine and find ways to fit it into Dragon Plus Magazine. In the past, in our board game issue, we looked at some of the original games that Dragon Magazine had created and published over the years. They've also created a great deal of fiction throughout the years. In this issue, we have Adam Lee's continuing piece with Kawasha and Kupalui. But in our D&D Classics section, we also wanted to take a look back at some of the other fiction that we've run in Dragon Magazine through the years. The pieces right now are based on the original artwork. And what we did for this issue was we wanted to take just a selection of stories from various issues. If we could leave it here for a second, I'll talk through some of them. Relay out, reformat the fiction, and republish that for folks that are interested in taking a look at this. This one is Catacomb from Henry Melton, back in Dragon number 97. And we also had a preface piece to this as well, Tug of the Machine from Alan Evans, back even earlier from Dragon number 25. And part of the interest in this story, at least for me personally, was this is from Dragon 97. It was taking a look at the role of computer content, computer gaming, and how that was portrayed in fiction, and just seeing how it was being portrayed back then and where it's come to today as well. The next cover piece, this one and the next piece as well, the theme between the two there, sort of what happens when a thief makes a misadventure against a wizard, and how the thief is or is not able to extricate themselves always. The one you're looking at here is from Denham and the Golem, Robert Badcock's fiction piece from Dragon, issue number 99. And the next piece is Thief on a String from Dean Edmonds' Dragon number 160. So again, we repackaged some of the fiction just for issue 16 as our storyteller issue. Of course, we wanted to look back at past fiction and see what we might put out for the D&D Classics section there as well. In addition, we have a number of interviews. I mentioned, as always, we like to interview the artist of our cover to get a sense of their artistic style and leanings and their game experiences as well. Because Xanathar's Guide to Everything is right around the corner, we also wanted to do an interview with Zanathar himself. One of the things not mentioned about the book is a bit of the flavor. It's Xanathar's Guide to Everything, so there is a bit of Xanathar's commentary that runs throughout the content of Xanathar's Guide to Everything. So Matthew Cernit was kind enough to lend his continued words in the character of Xanathar. I think we do have, this is the cover illustration of Xanathar himself. We've shown this off a couple of times now. We also, within the book, and just to kind of showcase where Xanathar has come throughout the ages, these are some various depictions of Xanathar in products of the recent past, at least, Lords of Waterdeep and some other works as well. So Xanathar has been depicted a time or two before, and here you'll again find him reappearing in the cover of Xanathar's Guide to Everything. In addition, interviews with Ethan Gilsdorf. He will be discussing ways to add personal stakes to your character. Again, kind of talking back to This Is Your Life section of Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Ethan Gilsdorf has an essay about adding personal stakes to your character. And in addition, we have an interview with the folks from Codename Entertainment, Eric Jordan and Clive Gorman, talking about Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. Available now, Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms on PC and Mac via Steam. And as part of the game, you can play various characters of your choice, including the characters that have appeared in this season of Force Grey. One of the characters being Hitch, played by Utkarsh Ambudkar. Our lovable rogue from Force Grey is a character in Idle Champions. So one of the connective tissue pieces we wanted to do this issue not only was talk to Idle Champions, showcase some of the characters, but showcase the characters as the players use them in the actual game. So I don't know that we have ever released the official character sheets for some of the characters. This issue of Dragon Plus, as an added resource, it's sort of an experiment for us. This issue is to release some of the character sheets from some of our live stream games that we've been showing. This is the Hitch character, not the original version that Utkarsh was using during the Force Grey taping, but we recreated it word for word in the D&D Beyond character builder, edited up the character sheet a bit, and in addition to Hitch, we'll also be putting out Paulton and Dieth from Dice Camera Action Waffle Crew. There's Sean Woods created the character portraits back for Hitch. He also did a round for our Waffle Crew members, so we'll be adding those to the character sheets as well. So in addition to talking to Xanathar, talking to Ethan, talking to Idle Champions, lots of interviews, a huge interview that Matt Chapman, the editor-in-chief, did with a number of D&D authors as well. But again, because it is the Halloween issue, we would be remiss if we did not at least include some creature content in the issue 16 of Dragon Plus. So we spoke with the folks at Beamdog. Planescape Torment Enhanced Edition is already out, but they wanted to offer some of the original stats that were created for a few of the creatures, and we have updated those for 5th edition as well. So we've got images, I believe, for some of the creatures in Planescape Torment Enhanced Edition. We've got the Grillings, the Gronk, the Samian, the Trellin. This is accompanied by a fiction piece as well as the stats as they were originally created for the game. I want to say they're in the 2nd edition format, We've also created them as updated 5th edition versions as well, so those will be available for download. We spoke about this a time or two ago. Another monster stat block that we have created was for the spider shark. This was the owl-bear-esque creature hybrid that was created by the audience members at this year's HasCon in Providence, Rhode Island. The folks from R&D ran a You Create the Creatures panel, and out of that came the highly scientific spider shark. So we'll be releasing the stats for this as well. Chris Lindsay created those, and those will be available for download. In addition, the next round of our Twitch emotes will be available shortly. Emi Tanji has created another round of emotes. We are looking to release those on or around Halloween, depending on the Twitch approval process. But again, as always, thank you so much to our viewers and our subscribers. To our subscribers, we are trying to make either further emotes available for you as soon as possible. The spider shark will be one of the new emotes that we have available. And Emmy created a few more as well that are also relevant to not only the Tomb of Annihilation campaign, but the Waffle crew going through it as well. So there's our Acerak emote, our I Want to Play from Waffle crew. Do we have one more? And there's, yes, zombie vomit, always sure to be used in many a game of Tomb of Annihilation. So again, if you're looking for those emotes, those are submitted to Twitch. We're looking to get those approved and available to our subscribers, hopefully by Halloween. But in any case, the spider shark appearing in issue 16 of Dragon Plus will be an emote as well. So before we wrap up here at the top of the hour, we did have just a couple more monster pictures to showcase. We spoke with Richard Witters, I want to say last week. It feels so long ago, but it was just last week, talking about the D&D Minis Classic Creatures that are coming out shortly from WizKids. And now Richard took the original first edition Monster Manual art for several of these creatures and evolved them into sort of a current depiction of how those creatures might actually appear as illustrations in the game, but still keeping very much their original flavor and feel. So here's a few more that we haven't showcased yet. So including the Orc, the Owlbear, Demigorgon, and the Sahuagin. Those will all be appearing as classic creatures in the WizKid D&D Minis line as well. So here we are at 3 o'clock at the top of the hour. On behalf of myself, Mike Merles, who had to head down to a meeting, we kept him here as long as possible. But thank you again for the questions that came in. We hope we were able to address at least a few of those for Xanathar's Guide to Everything. On behalf of myself and Pelham behind the computer, thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Dragon Plus issue 16 will be available in the coming days for iOS and Android, and as always at dragonmag.com. Stay tuned for D&D news coming up at 3:30. Pelham, stop me if I'm wrong. Dice Camera Action will be coming up at 4 o'clock. And then Maze Arcana will be following them this evening as well. So please stay tuned to this channel. And if you missed the announcement, in future weeks, this will not be our first show of Tuesday, but the Mike Merles Happy Fun Hour will be starting up our Tuesday live streaming at 12:30 Pacific. So again, thanks everyone for watching.